moving on to side mount. You really have to understand side mount. This is kind of the launching pad for a lot of your other game in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And there's a lot of variables. So you'll soon see my arms can be doing different things, my legs can be doing different things, my hips can be doing different things, and my body can be doing different things. Each of these changes the game, changes his options on the bottom, changes my options on top. So it's probably the most complex of the top positions. Basically, I'm at 90 degrees to his body, but you'll see that isn't always true. My arms can be in one of four positions. They can both be over. See, my armpit's on his face, and my hand is in the underhook. My hand can be around his head and in the underhook. This is probably the most common. I can have both hands on this side, or I can have one hand over and one hand in his hip. So once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll use those different arm positions to shut down his escape attempts and to set up what you want to do. Just like your arms can be in different positions, your legs can be in different positions. Turn sideways here, please, Don. I can be up with both legs bent. I can have one leg back, that hip down to the floor. I can have the other leg back, that hip down to the floor. Or I can even have both legs back, depending on the other aspects of what's going on. So we've got 4 arm positions, 4 leg positions. My body can be either 90 degrees to him, or I can start circling around to more of a 45 degrees to him, or I can be lined up with him. This would be classic side mount. I'm basically at right angles. If I want to start circling towards his head with my body, I might bring my hand over and block his hip. We'll see why blocking his hip is important in a second. And now I'm sprawling off. We're no longer like this, we're now more like that. If I want, I can continue circling till we're straight in line. Some people call that north-south. For the purposes of today, it's a variation of side mount. And finally, your hips can do different things too. Your arms, your body, your legs, and your hips. If I'm here, my hips are facing the floor. If I turn them out this way, my hips are now facing his head. If I turn them out this way, my hips are facing his body. Turn a bit, please. So this is facing his body. I'm spreading them as wide as I can. I don't want to be here, because if he bridges into me, I'll go over. If I'm really basing out here and he bridges into me, I can drive with that foot. So that is facing his legs. Here is hips down. Here is facing his head. Learn those variations, at least become familiar with them, and it'll make side mount make a lot more sense to you. Let's talk a little bit about how you would use these different positions and also how you would transition to some other positions. Anytime I'm in side mount against a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, one of his main things is going to be put me into guard or put me into half guard. Go ahead, please, Don. See? He's begun to entangle my leg. I'm no longer in a dominant position. Now he has sweeps and attacks, and it's made my life more difficult. So here's a principle. Straighten your legs, please. Anytime I'm in side mount, I need to have something blocking this hip. That can be my hand. If it's not my hand, it can be my knee. And if I can't block it, then I have to run away from it. Let me show you what I mean. We're here. Right now my knee is up tight against his hip. We're here and here. I'm squeezing in with my elbow a little bit and I'm bringing my knee up. If he starts moving his hips away, and for some reason I can't follow him, straighten your leg, please. Right now there's about 6 inches or 8 inches of separation. That's more than enough for him to get me back into guard. I take my hand and I jam it down here. Either block the hip here with my hand or with my fist. Put me in guard. He can't. So that's one principle. Either use my knee or my hand to block this hip. Let's say I can't, or I don't want to. Go again, please. So he creates a bit of room. He starts getting in that half guard as I switch my hips. Essentially, I'm running my top leg away from him. It was here. I switch it here. Now that shuts down that escape. The other option is I circle my body away from him. As he starts going, I move my legs towards his head, and I keep my hips flat down. Other options from side mount include coming up to knee mount. You use this a lot if he's super defensive. If he's protecting his neck, he's not giving you his neck, he's not giving you his arm, he's not even trying to escape, so you can't attack in the transition. I might block across his hips with my forearm here, block across his neck, or grab his gi here, and pop up. Now I can start using the knee mount, which we'll discuss in the next section, to put a lot of pressure onto him. From knee mount I can go to other things. Another very common transition that you should learn is we're here, under the head, under the arm, I switch. I come over the head, and I block the hip, and I back step. We're here. I try and circle as far as I can towards his head. And then I swing my bottom leg over. We're here. I circle away, I back step, legs are wide, and I swing up to mount. And I stabilize mount position. You see that transition again and again in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when you find yourself in side mount, and you will, don't make these mistakes. A lot of people, they'll grab onto him. They don't want him to move. But as you hear, not only is it his weight that I'm carrying, but I'm also increasing his weight by squeezing. This doesn't accomplish anything. I don't want to decrease room. I want to increase space. I want to push him away. Another thing I don't want to do is leave my arm here by his ear. Here, he's got a number of attacks, tap, tap, that all of which are bad for this arm. Finally, some people, they'll reach over here. This also isn't good. This doesn't really set up your escapes. And if he jumps across the other side of my body, he can tap me out. So those are some don'ts. Here's some do's. Try to get a little bit up on your side. And you might bridge and turn a little bit onto your side. It helps take some of the weight off you. This hand goes in one of several places. I like coming right underneath the jaw and gripping his shoulder here. I'm not doing this with my wrist. This is weak. If he pushes in here, push towards me, he can fold my arm quite easily, and he can wrist lock me. I'm going to be pushing with the bottom third of my elbow here. This is strong. It doesn't rely on tricep strength. My other hand, go hip snap. I try and push with that same bottom third of the elbow into his hip. Here and here, now I'm not using a lot of strength. I would be if I was using the front part of my hand, but down here, it's all structural strength. I can keep him off me a bit, and I can set up my escapes. Another good position is if I can come underneath here. It's almost the same thing. I'm pushing with the bottom third of my arm here, and the bottom third of my arm here. A related position is as he tries to circle this arm back, is the X block. Anybody who's ever trained karate will know the X block. You're here. What you're doing is you're stopping this arm from hooking the head. This is a transitional position. You really have to adjust to his energy. You have to track him, but that's okay. I mean, this is a transitional game. The final posture, come around please, I want to talk about is where you take this hand, you leave it on the hip, and you take your other hand and you come underneath his armpit here. That makes this arm fairly safe from attack. It does leave your neck open a bit, so if you end up here, you have to move fairly quickly. You don't want to stay here forever, or he'll figure out how to choke you. But if I'm here, I can usually escape, and we'll show you that in the next section. So now that we've talked about posture on the bottom, let's talk about getting out. Here we are in one of the very common postures. I've got my elbow on his hip, got my elbow across his face. I want to bring this leg, the leg that's closest to him, in between him and I. put him back in the guard. But often he's going to be a bit tight on me. So what I need to do is I'm going to bridge into him slightly, not a huge bridge, just a little bridge, and move my hips away. I'll show this to you from the other angle. I'm going to take my leg and I'm going to bring it across his belt line. Lift up, please. See it here. It's across his belt line. If he does nothing at this point, I can push away and end up in the open guard. But most guys will start to circle here and fight their way past your knee. So I have to do one of a few things here. If he's starting to go that way, I can take his head and I can push it there. That makes it difficult for him to come around. If he does come around, it's a lot of room for me to escape or to create a scramble at least. Another option, when I've got this knee across his belly and he's starting to go this way, is to bring my other foot in and step over his calf. Now, when he circles, so he takes me with him. This gives me the time to square up and put him in the open guard. And another option when we're here, if I can't quite hook here, sometimes I can hook underneath. Again, if he circles to his left and my right, he takes me with him. That gives me the time to square up. So if he starts to circle out on you, push the head, step over the leg, or hook with the instep. Let's just show that from a different angle. We're here. I'm making posture. I bridge into him a bit. I move my hips away. I bring my bottom leg in. Ideally, I just square up to him. If I can't, he starts to circle. I take his head and I push it that way. Drive into me. That should give me enough time to catch up and put him back into guard. The other two options I showed were here and here. I bridge up, I bring my knee in. I either try and hook on top or on bottom. If I hook on bottom and he circles, he takes me with him and I can spin. If I hook over top here, circle please so we can see, he also takes me with him. So those are some pretty high percentage escapes from side mount. So I mentioned the arm underhooking posture. And I said you shouldn't hang out here for too long, but that it is an effective posture. And that's true. From here, your main option is to lift your feet up slightly and then do a giant bridge. And as you do the bridge, you're also going to chuck your arm up. You're doing this motion. That's going to accomplish one or both of the two things. It's either going to move my body down or move his body up. It depends on whether I'm lighter than him, in which case I'll mainly move down, or if he's lighter than me or I'm really strong, he's mainly going to move up. So we're here. I'm turning onto my side. From here, I take that hand and I'm going to grab that single leg. We're here. Now, he'll probably come back and cover my body here. Come back over top. And from here, it's a whole nother battle. But at least you've gotten off your back and onto your knees, and you've got something that you can work with. You can start working your wrestling takedowns. So from another angle, we're here. I've got the underhook, a big bridge, and I turn on my side. I've got the leg, and I drive. The simplest thing you can probably do, come on the side here, capture the far knee, and try and pull his knees together. If he squares up to you, the simplest thing you can probably do, turn a bit more please, is grab his foot, pull it up between his legs, keeping one hand around his leg, reaching and grabbing his foot and pulling it up. One more escape, it's a little bit similar but different, is like this. I come under here, but I don't think that I can bridge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to grab his belt. I'm going to take that hand and also grab his belt. So I've got his belt on both sides. Now instead of bridging heavily into him, I'm going to do a little bridge and I'm going to take my bottom leg and step it out. I'm going here. And now I come up and I'm going to be grabbing his hips. Probably he'll drive into me. and I can sit back. In this case, I've sat back to one of my favorite guards, the butterfly guard, but you could just as easily sit back to closed guard as well. The key to this movement is to escape your head. You're gonna grab his hip, and you're going to scissor your legs. We're here, I grab his hip with the underhook, and I'm going to scissor my legs, but I need to escape my head underneath his arm. If he keeps on pushing my face with his shoulder, I can't do it. So come here again, please. We're here, I grab his belt, grab my head. I need to tuck my head and escape down this way. From here, I scissor my legs, I walk this leg away, and we're here. I keep a grip on his hips. If he doesn't drive in, I can just come back here. We're neutral. If he does drive in, keep the belt, sit back to your preferred type of guard.